Hey everyone, Alex again, bringing you another edition of Guild Wars Corner, Episode 3. And this weekend we had a very special weekend, and that was the special event, the Weekend of Lag. That's right, 100% more lag than what you're used to, plus free disconnects every now and again. Yeah, and then the next time that Arena that decides to do something like this, I'll be sure and pass on this one. Actually, truth be told, what really happened was that there was a Steam sale going on Valve's Steam program sharing network, and Guild Wars, all campaigns, and the Eye of the North was 50% off. And essentially, all you really need to do is just buy the trilogy and Eye of the North, and you are good to go. So a lot of people got caught into that. They saw that, they were really interested. They may have wanted to try Guild Wars, but couldn't quite justify it. Well, now it's for basically $20 or $25. I'm sorry, $15 for the trilogy, and I think it was $10 for the Eye of the North. $25. You're good to go. You have the whole thing. So a lot of people decided to join in on the fun and download Guild Wars all at once, and this just crushed the servers. And I think also the servers for Guild Wars 1, I'm pretty sure this also share the servers of Guild Wars 2, so if there's really anything going on in Guild Wars 2 that's big, it can also affect Guild Wars 1. But in this case, what I'm hoping, is that it was in fact the Steam sale. And when this video goes up on YouTube, the Steam sale will be over, and hopefully things will go back as everyone downloads the large files onto their computer, and they don't have to keep requeuing the server for these massive downloads. But the good thing is that this brings in a new crowd. This brings in some fresh blood into a game that could certainly use it. So for all of you bitter vets out there, this is a good time. If you really want to bring in some fresh blood, either into your guild or just into your friends list, go check out the starting areas. Go check out the early missions. Go check out Pre-Searing and Ascalon in the Prophecies campaign, or Xingje Island in Factions, and the starting areas in Nightfall. I have not played Nightfall, so I don't know the name, but you know what I'm talking about. You can find them there. So this would be a great time to, kind of change things up a little bit. So, moving on, there's been a lot of great comments and feedback on YouTube and also Guild Wars Guru, and that's kind of the two places I look for comments, and also Reddit. I also take a look at Reddit as well. And the really detailed comments really came in YouTube and Guild Wars Guru, and a lot of people seem to be really excited about these episodes, or at least they see something nice that's happening to bring some attention to a game that, again, as I mentioned earlier, was really well renowned. It was Game of the Year in 2005 and was very successful. So this was not a game that had a niche group. This was a very popular game. And bringing kind of the more modern tools that games today have, things like Twitch streams, things like YouTube, which may not have been available back in 2005 when Guild Wars was released, and trying to bring those into Guild Wars. That was kind of one of my main intentions of doing this, because you see that with a lot of other games. You see that with games that I know of, like Dota 2, World of Tanks, EVE Online, World of Warcraft, of course, and several others. Of course, I'm missing a lot. But those channels, those games, I'm sorry, have had those channels from the very beginning, while Guild Wars did not. And the other thing about these MMORPGs, and actually Guild Wars is really not quite an MMORPG, it's more of a dungeon crawler type of RPG. Again, it is, as I had mentioned in episode 1, a different animal than a lot of the others, which makes it unique. But the thing about these type of games that came around in 2005 and even earlier is that they're very well established. They have a very well established community. They have people that have very fond memories who may be willing to come back, because just because you go from an older MMO to a newer MMO does not necessarily mean it's a better MMORPG. New MMORPGs have issues of their own. They have rollout issues. There's God knows how many network bugs. They have to roll out content, which just takes time, especially things like Guild Wars, World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, anything that is more of what I would say, quote unquote, a theme park style MMORPG. It is content constrained, and it just comes out to just pure content and how much you can generate. This is one of the reasons why World of Warcraft has such staying power. It is not because it is a new game or the graphics are outstanding. It is the fact there are huge campaigns that have been added. Things like Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, and several others that have been released. And of course, I don't play World of Warcraft. I can only support one nasty habit at a time and really be in one world at a time. But Guild Wars falls into the same idea. It comes down to content. Now Guild Wars 2 has a ton of content as well. But again, to add more content, and in their version they're doing this living story thing, which I'm not too familiar with, but I've heard yay and nay on people whether they like it or not. My real problem is this with the living story, from what I know of it, and that is you have to be in the game at a certain point in time in order to play certain content. And if you're not there, that's it. You missed the boat. There's no going back. And I have kind of an issue with that, or at least when I play a game, because what that does, it forces you to be in the game at a certain point in time. It basically forces you to log in, which is kind of the intention as well. But if you are coming into the game later on, I say you discover Guild Wars 2 a year later in 2015, and man, let's start at the beginning and experience everything as it goes through. It's too late. You can't come in and experience anything. Well, Guild Wars 1, you can start from the very beginning, as a lot of people are doing. I saw one YouTube channel with that just started with three brothers that are starting from the very beginning, pre-searing Ascalon, and going all the way through. And we'll see how long that goes. Hopefully they have a good time. But they can do that. In Guild Wars 2, you can't. You missed the boat. And that's kind of off-putting. I mean, it's hard to kind of justify coming into Guild Wars 2 because everyone else is ahead. You have no idea where things started. What has developed in the quote-unquote living story. You were not there. Yeah, you can have a wiki, but that's not the same as experiencing it, So that's kind of my thing with Guild Wars 2 living story. But with Guild Wars 1, you can start at the very beginning, go all the way through, and play thousands of hours, going through all the PvE content. And that's just the PvE content. That's not even touching the PvP content. And the PvP content is where a game like Guild Wars gets its real staying power, or any game for that matter. A PvP game is what makes a game last long into the future, because PvE always runs out at some point. You hit every spot, you beat every boss, you play every chapter, every bonus mission, etc. PvP, that is where the real long-term staying power of the game really resides. So if you look at games like, I would say more the MOBA genre, the multiplayer battle arena. I was trying to think what the exact acronym was. I think Multiplayer Online Battle Arena, MOBA. Those type of games, like World of Tanks, like Dota, like League of Legends, those are only strictly PvP games. There is no PvE content, and yet they last, for many, many years, simply because every single match is a different one. And that's the case with Guild Wars. I view more Guild Wars as kind of a MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena, and also an MMO, dungeon crawler RPG, and it does both. And that to me is where Guild Wars 1 is such a unique and different animal. It takes the best of both worlds, the MMORPG and the MOBA, and merges them together. And that was so far and so ahead of time, and has not been done since. And this is kind of one of those things. I see the same thing with EVE Online. EVE Online did something incredible that was, on a single shard server. For some reason, no one's done it since, but EVE Online has gone away with it, and has done very successful with it too. They've not gone away with it; they've been very successful with it. But I think a lot of people look at the investment. A lot of companies look at the investment involved in something like that, and it's like, yeah, we don't want to do that. But with Guild Wars, that's not so much a question of investment. It's like a lot of companies, like Bethesda, like Blizzard, and several others. They see what works, where all the money went, and that's where they go. And ArenaNet does this as well, and that's why you see Guild Wars 2 being so much like World of Warcraft, because that was the target audience that they were going after. Now, another thing that's been going on this weekend was trying out one of the Zeischen missions. There was a double bonus for one of the Zeischen missions, and this time the Zeischen mission was in Prophecies in the Thunderhead Keep mission. And once I heard Thunderhead Keep, a whole bunch of memories started coming back. Holy cow. I remember that it was one of the toughest missions in Prophecies. I wouldn't call it the toughest, but it could be rather difficult. And one of the reasons it was difficult was the fact, or still is difficult, is the fact it is bloody long. This is one of those missions, it's like an international flight. You're stuck in a tube and you're hoping to God that the people with you are at least tolerable, hopefully know what they're doing. So I started the Zeiss mission, and actually I just broke out my usual heroes and henchmen and tried to have a go at it. But thankfully, I remember some of the comments in Guild Wars Guru and also on YouTube of people who said, hey, Alex, if you ever want to try out something one time, hit me up or something like that, and decided, you know what, it's time to kind of call it in, try to claim my first victim very pretty much. So I found a very nice guy, and he was online, and his name's Nico, and a big shout out to Nico. So I called. I called him up. I said, "Hey, would you like to do a Zeiss mission?" He didn't know who I was. I finally told him I was the crazy YouTube guy. I was like, "Oh, hey, yeah, no problem." And he put up some sort of bat signal. I don't know, but suddenly we got like 4 or 5 guys with top level heroes suddenly showing up, and we just marched through this mission. And this was on hard mode as well. There would be no way in the world I could do this, probably even on regular mode with my heroes, just because at the end point of this mission, you've got to hold off a massive assault. And more often than not, that assault comes either in one direction or the other, but there are several points in the game where they hit you on both flanks. They hit you on two sides, and you gotta keep this king alive while this incredible assault is going on. And this is one of those missions where you really do need a team that knows what it's doing. So Nico and his crew showed up and just showed me how it was done, and it was great. Really talking to live people again, chatting with them, and just having a good time. And hopefully, I made a decent showing that was not suicidally stupid, even though I did get caught out a little bit too far outside this gate here. But this was a great experience, and it was great in one way, and it reminded me what Guild Wars is and can be like when you're playing with real people, with real friends that you know. Because playing by yourself, it's just not fun. It's not a lot. It can be done. A lot of people do it. There's a lot of story, but it's not the same as really going through it with other people that can help you out, either experiencing the first time or just doing it because they like playing with you. And that's a great experience. And as I had mentioned earlier, Steam sale, there's new people involved. Maybe a good time to show that there's still a living, breathing pulse here. So again, major kudos to Nico. It was a great time. Great to see your friends again, and hopefully things are going well. And I'm going to kind of leave it at this point for this week's episode. Again, a lot more things I'd like to cover. Probably next episode, I'd like to focus on the guild that I've tried. Again, still Guild 1, but one person did ask me to kind of put up a character name in the guild, and I'll probably dive into some more details on that. Again, this is a brand new guild trying to be established. We'll see what happens, but at least there is a little bit of interest, and we'll go from there. So, anyways, that'll be it for this episode, and I'll talk to everyone later, and good luck.